I'm stoked. I'm so excited. I think it's refreshing. I've been in Phoenix for the past 6 years.
The WNBA is no stranger to intense moments, but what unfolded during the Indiana Fever's clash with the Connecticut Sun wasn't just another game. It became a defining moment for Sophie Cunningham, who didn't just step onto the court that night. She stepped into a role few players in the league dare to embrace: the enforcer. And not just any enforcer. She became the protector of Caitlin Clark, the league's brightest star and its most polarizing figure. One poke to Clark's eye changed everything, but it was Sophie Cunningham's response that made the entire league stand still. From the second JC Sheldon's fingers caught Caitlin Clark across the face, the air in the arena changed. It was supposed to be just another physical possession, just another example of aggressive WNBA defense. But the second Clark recoiled, her hand flying to her face, blinking rapidly, that changed. The contact was quick, yes, but it was deliberate enough to leave fans gasping and players stiffening with anticipation. Clark didn't retaliate with dramatics. She didn't beg for a call. She simply absorbed it, blinked through the pain, and kept moving. But Sophie Cunningham? She saw it all, and she wasn't about to let it go. What happened next wasn't subtle. As Marina Mabrey stepped in and forcefully shoved Clark to the ground with her full weight, the crowd erupted, not in excitement, but in disbelief. There was no whistle, no immediate reaction from the officials. Just silence, hesitation, and rising frustration radiating from every corner of the court. And that's when Cunningham moved. She didn't wait. She didn't ask. She simply stepped into the chaos and made it clear: you don't get to treat Caitlin Clark like that and walk away. Her body language told the story long before the technical fouls were handed out. Chest out, arms ready, jaw clenched, she wasn't asking for respect. She was demanding it. With the same energy of a black belt stepping into a ring, Sophie Cunningham took up space and made sure the entire Sun roster, and every other team watching, understood that there would be consequences for targeting Clark. And it wasn't just for show. Cunningham had been building to this role since joining the Fever. From her aggressive box-outs to her hard screens, she's always been physical. But this was personal. This was loyalty made flesh. The kind of response that says, if you go after Clark, you deal with me. And that kind of loyalty, rare, raw, and ready to throw hands, is exactly what the Fever had been missing. The aftermath was explosive. Clark, who had been shoved to the ground, was the one who got teed up. Sophie too. Mabrey got hers, but not ejected. And somehow, through all the chaos, the officials managed to miss the gravity of what had just unfolded. The kind of moment that doesn't just alter the tone of a game, it shifts the entire trajectory of a season. Fans called it revenge. They called it justice. They called it necessary. Because what Sophie Cunningham did wasn't reckless. It was calculated. Deliberate. She knew Clark was being targeted, had been targeted all season, and she wasn't going to let another incident slide. Not this time. Not on her watch. Analysts have since called her Caitlin Clark's personal secret service. And while the phrase might sound dramatic, it's not wrong. Cunningham isn't backing down. She's not easing up. She's setting a new standard for what teammate loyalty looks like in this league. And she's doing it in a way that forces everyone else, fans, refs, and even her opponents, to think twice. Because Sophie Cunningham isn't just responding to one dirty play. She's responding to a trend. The eye poke, the shove, the lack of whistles, the refusal of officials to protect the player, bringing in more eyes to the WNBA than anyone else. Clark is a lightning rod for the league. And yet, she's being treated like just another rookie. And Cunningham made it clear, that ends now. From the moment she stepped in, the Fever were no longer just a team. They were a statement. A warning. If you come for our star, you'd better be ready to deal with the rest. The enforcer era of Sophie Cunningham had officially begun. That mentality didn't fade when the game ended. It was there in the locker room, where Cunningham posted a photo before the final buzzer even sounded, a clear and direct call-out. She wasn't just defending Clark in the moment. She was establishing a message to every team across the league. Clark isn't alone anymore. This isn't just about one game, or even one player. It's about a league grappling with how it handles physicality and star protection. The referees in that game made decisions, or failed to make them, That inflamed the situation. They missed the moment when Sheldon poked Clark in the eye. They missed the immediate aftermath when Mabry delivered a blindside shove. And then they penalized Clark for reacting. The optics were bad. The consequences even worse. Fans and analysts alike are calling it a turning point. Not just for the Fever, but for the WNBA itself. Because what happens when the referees don't act? When they refuse to control a game spiraling into chaos? That's where players like Cunningham step in. Not because they want to, but because someone has to. And that's exactly what happened when Sophie Cunningham laid JC Sheldon out on the very next possession. It was a hard foul, sure. But more than that, it was a statement. You touch Clark, you answer for it. Period. Some will call it excessive. Others call it necessary. But whatever your take, you can't deny its impact. The second Cunningham stepped into that role, everything changed. Opposing players suddenly hesitated around Clark. Screens were a little softer. Contact was a little more cautious. And Clark? She played freer. More confident. Less concerned about whether the refs would protect her, because now she knew someone else would. This dynamic, Cunningham the enforcer, Clark the star, is becoming the heart of the Fever's new identity. And it's working. They're not just winning games, they're commanding attention. And Sophie Cunningham is the reason. And it's bigger than basketball. It's about setting a precedent. If officials won't enforce boundaries, then players will. That's not a sustainable model. But it is a wake-up call. A challenge to the WNBA to finally address the gap between star treatment and player protection. Because Caitlin Clark isn't just any player. She's the face of the league's future. And if she continues to be mishandled, it's not just her that suffers, it's the league itself. Critics have accused Cunningham of escalating things, risking fines, suspensions, or even retaliation. But her response has sparked a league-wide conversation that desperately needed to happen. She's forcing the WNBA to confront uncomfortable questions about how it treats its stars, how it trains its officials, and whether it's willing to protect the very players driving its growth. As it stands now, the league's silence is deafening. No major disciplinary actions. No public statements on the officiating. And that vacuum has left players like Cunningham to do what the officials won't. And then there's Stephanie White. Once again stepping into the chaos to advocate for her players. Speaking to the refs in the first quarter, she saw what was coming. She predicted the escalation. And when it happened, she didn't hold back. They've got to be better, she said. We say the same thing over and over, every fall, every spring. And nothing's changed. She's right. It hasn't. Which is why what Cunningham did matters. Because she didn't just protect Clark. She exposed the WNBA's greatest vulnerability. And now, the league has a choice: evolve, or continue letting its brightest stars fend for themselves. Sophie Cunningham has drawn the line. The question is, will the league step over it or finally stand beside her? Let us know what you think. Was Sophie right to step up like that? Should the WNBA have done more? And what needs to change before the next incident turns into something even worse? Sound off in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more coverage of the moments that are shaping the league.